This isn't actually going to be a coil lesson for the master class. We're actually going to just do it on its own whim, like I did the Tom Holland Spider-Man reference video for self-love. This is about relevant experience and why it's important, and also why some other advice that I'm giving myself to heal from my own other traumas. I'm going to teach it to you guys too, but so here's the lesson that I learned from another trauma that isn't what I thought it would be. It sounds like it's giving advice for like other people, but here's actually what it is. From this other person that I'm healing from the trauma of their experiences, like all the other ones, the lesson I learned from this other person is that the advice that anyone gives is not their own. I used to kind of say something like that for reason giving, but in as far as giving advice, the advice that anyone gives is not their own. And the reason I say that is that what that means is basically, even if the advice you learn from yourself, the lessons you teach yourself, sounds like someone else's advice, they don't own that lesson they gave themselves either. So you don't even own lessons you taught yourself. They're invaluable because you're the reason that they gave that much weight, but you don't own the lessons you teach yourself, and neither do the people who teach themselves and people who teach each other, or like you. If you were to teach someone else, or they were to teach someone else. I don't own any of the advice that COIL teaches in this masterclass. It impresses to some people like it is unique. Maybe it is, but even then I don't own it. I don't have a copyright on the life lessons I came up with out of the blue, or even the life lessons that I conjured, whether it is common ground for anyone else to say, whether statistically or even already. And it's like, no, I don't own this advice. I don't own any advice, neither do you. No one owns the advice that they give. The reason that relevant experience is important, and I'm not just saying this for the narcissist's sake, or the people who are up their own butt about how their relevant experience is relevant experience. That gives me a bit of trauma, so here's what I learned from that experience, that negative traumatic experience of hearing that crap. The reason that relevant experience is important is that even if everyone was relatable, they'd have to relate something that makes them connect with that person, which suggests that it's separate. The reason that irrelevant experience is important is because you don't want to have to own the advice that you're giving, which you never could anyways, like I said earlier in the video. It's relevant enough to help them with a certain fragment of that life that is still connected with itself in each other. But you should try to make a relevant, rational point about it without distinguishing too much whether it was unique or relatable. If you want to give someone advice that you have what they want and that you could still relate to them, that doesn't disturb the sentiment of what they have went through, whether you can associate it with yourself or not, they can still take something from you that isn't necessarily just the advice you gave. Even if it was supposed to be communicated better anyways. You could still give them something very invaluable and they missed that point. But don't hold up a regard like the SpongeBob meme where you're in a wall because someone necessarily was saying from some weird reason abstraction. That meme makes me a little annoyed. So, but we'll make that for another video. It's like don't hold too much to integrity your own logic, and that may be my advice given to you, but that's not my advice I own because but the experiences and relevant experiences alike, I would hope that you give relevant experiences because they're not so much to distinguish, because I'm an abstract philosopher, so I do this all the time, but I want to impress that I understand a little bit better nowadays that if you give a relevant experience advice, if that altogether, it could be a good idea. There are other evils. They're not just two that I'm pointing out in this video of the narcissist logic and freaking advice giving as if you own the advice, but some other evils as particular, 2+ evils. You can't really be certain that the advice you gave was the only lesson they can learn. There are alternative life lessons as opposed to the mains. Even if someone learns something different from what you taught them, don't hold a regard that was pointless. It wasn't, especially for that person or individuals. Relevant experience is important, once more, because it teaches people things that apply to their own experiences, whether you can relate to them or not. Even if you wanted to teach them something specific, even if you wanted to own up a bit of boldness to what you taught them, as if you owned copyright over what your lesson was. Even if it's a universal life lesson, nobody owns those lessons. Even if it's a supposed relevant experience of something that's irrelevant to them, make sure you make that effort for them, not because you own it.